shared, reshared.
Yep, and we're back. Sorry about that. Just some slight technical difficulties. If you shared that last link, I'm gonna ask you to share this one. You could probably go ahead and delete that last one. But we're gonna get it right. We're gonna get it tight. Like I was saying, I'm here in the lab, pen, paper, and pad, like I like to say, with Herdine, my lovely assistant.
Hey!
And we are going to impart some good info, not just to the single ladies like we were saying before, but to the single guys too, because it is just as hard for fellas, for single men. All right, believe me, I used to be one of them. So we'll give it a few minutes, give everybody time to get on. When you do get on, do us a favor, let us know who you are, where you are. You know what? How about let us know if you are single and maybe we say a prayer for you. No, just kidding. Just kidding. If you are single, just let us know. And you might have some wisdom to impart. We're open to that. I also, let's get some housekeeping out the way. Aside from our live show, if you want to stay in contact with us, feel free to join us. Follow us on Instagram, Dr. Jameson Mercier. Follow us on Twitter as well. Even YouTube, Mercier Wellness and Consulting. And you can even email us live at mercierwellness.com. That is true. Live at mercierwellness.com. Was that it? Was that all?
Yeah.
Anywhere else they can reach us?
Make sure you share it onto your page.
Yeah. So feel free, share this link onto your page. Feel free to call a friend, grab a lifeline, whatever you need to do. Because we're talking to singles, single people. All right. The bed felt big is how we've decided to title this tonight, this chat. The bed felt big. There's actually a funny story behind that, which I'll get into. I'll get into that later when we get going.
Mm-hmm. Let's do some more check-ins.
And who do we have joining us? Wenda. Wenda, hey. Good evening, good night. Nice of you to join us tonight. Let us know where you're joining us from. And if you are single or in a relationship, married, is it complicated? We know how that can be. Felt big.
Taking care of some technical stuff.
Yep. Like we said, we want to get it on right. Like I often tell people, I'm a clinician, I'm a therapist, not a techie, but we are gonna get it together. got it. Yeah. So today we decided to call our show today "The Bed Felt Big." I was having a conversation with a colleague of mine, young lady, single lady, and she's not the kind of person who will tell you that she desperately wants to be in a relationship, but you know, even single people have times when they have these moments, when they have these I call them single pangs every now and then. And in the conversation, she was like, yeah, you know, she had a rough weekend, and you know, her friends were going out with their husbands, and they were, you know, putting their pictures on Instagram and Facebook. And at the end of that, you know, she turned to me and she goes, you know, her bed felt big. And I said, wow. You know, in my mind, I'm like, I actually have the complete opposite experience. Mm-hmm. Often I feel like my bed is way too small. But
confession, I do take care of most of the bed.
Yeah. She but her experience was that her bed was way too big for her. You know, she didn't have anybody sharing that or occupying the other space. You know, she could roll over twice and still be not bumping into anybody. And so for people who are single, this is a common thing. And although we talk about relationships here, we specialize in couples counseling, family counseling, we understand that single people often have their own challenges. You know, single people are often overlooked. You know, there's all kinds of programs for families and couples, but you don't always hear about singles programs. So we're going to dedicate this evening to talking to singles, whether you've never been married or divorced, because that actually is a different kind of singleness that comes with lots of its own issues and complications. So,
or a widow.
You're right.
That has a whole different.
You are right, and that just kind of further complicates.
Yeah.
Being a widow and being single. Who's that? Ivan, Mr. Dazzle. Thank you for joining us tonight. So, of all the advice that single people tend to get, you know, I actually believe a lot of it is just bad advice, because a lot of the advice single people get doesn't come from single people. It comes from people who've been married for decades.
Yeah. You
know, I can't imagine if I were single today, what I would be doing. Yeah. It's almost frightening, to tell you the truth. You know, it's anxiety provoking is what I like to say.
And I think it's anxiety provoking because of the myth. What are some myths that single people hear? They hear, oh, you finished school. What? Shouldn't you be married by now? What are some other myths that they hear?
You should be married. Society tells single people, for example, if you're not Mr. or Mrs. so-and-so, that you really are like a lower class almost, which is just unfortunate. But the idea that you're not anybody despite your accomplishments until you're married, you know, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. Even for women in particular, it's almost like a scarlet letter to be single.
Yes, that's true.
You know, single women, women in general, I'll just say, women in general have a hard time as far as the treatment and rights, which is a whole different day, a whole different show. But when it comes to being single, I know for a fact in my culture, and you know, when I deal with my Haitian people, some girls are specifically raised to be wives. And if you don't end up marrying somebody, you're just almost like an outcast.
Yeah. Which is sad.
It's terribly sad.
Mm-hmm.
Terribly, terribly sad. So today we're just going to share some things, just some advice, some counter narratives to what single people get, so that we can kind of approach this whole living single with some caution. Because sometimes, while single people may not realize how good they have it, mm-hmm. They're running to be married and trying to get hitched, and they all have their reasons. Single married people are hoping and praying and wishing they can find a way to get out.
Some of them.
Mm-hmm. Not everybody. But just think twice. First thing I want to tell single people, there are some single people out there who just want to get married, stop being single so they can have sex. Have you heard that?
Yes, I've heard that.
Yeah. Don't do that. Just don't do that. In particular, if you grew up super religious or very conservative, you were raised that sex is reserved for the marital bed, mm-hmm. and whatever you believe is what you believe. But if you think you're going to get married just so you can have sex and everything's going to be okay, I'm here to tell you that
it ain't worth the sex.
It is a high price to pay, to get some action, right? So save yourself the agony, the drama, and just trust me. The other thing I'll tell you is that marriage is not for everyone. Believe it or not, some people will be single their whole lives. Now, I don't know which one you are. Some people have a sense that being single is not for them. They have this need or this drive to be a nurturer, to be a husband or to be a wife. And if that's something that's in you, it's in you. But if you don't feel like that's you, then don't push it. Because quite honestly, you're going to have to give up a lot, and you may not be ready. If you're selfish, and I don't say that in a bad way, right? But if you like your weekends to yourself, if you like your quiet time to yourself, if you like the bed and your pillows to yourself, trust me, maybe you want to think twice about getting married. Right? Maybe you want to kind of enjoy your singleness for a little bit. If you like to know when you put your cheesecake in the fridge and you're going to go to work and come back, it's going to be there. Yeah. Maybe you might want to, hang out in this pond of singleness for a tad.
Being married, I think oftentimes when people that are single, they see the holding hands, they see the cuddleness, they see the people that are having their pillow talk, but don't realize that it takes work.
Say that again.
And it takes work to be single as well, but it's like more work, because not only don't you, as a married woman, you have to be able to worry about not only you, but possibly your spouse and then kids if you choose to have kids.
Yeah. And I mean, half the time you can't even decide what you want for dinner. Your damn self. Now
I've been talking about toilet paper in a certain way, like
oh, all right. So is it gonna come over or is it gonna come under? Yeah. Like again, if you're not ready to share, or if you can't be patient with someone that doesn't know how to put the toilet paper on the roll the right way, you might want to just stay in your singleness for a little bit. All right. We also tell single people that as a single person, you're incomplete.
Oh, that's a bad myth.
That's huge.
I hate that.
And there are all kinds of love songs out there. Mm-hmm. Without you, girl, my life is incomplete.
Yeah. Yeah. But that is a jam.
It may be a jam, and maybe you want to bop to it, but don't buy into that. Right? Because the idea that you're incomplete until you have a husband or until you have a wife, that is insanity. insanity. As a matter of fact, you should be a whole person, a complete person by yourself before you go into a relationship. If as a single person you don't know who you are and what you are and what you like and don't like, you think you're going to figure it out as soon as now you're hitched with somebody? There's no way.
And I think that's another myth is the moment I get hitched, I become hold. And it's a totally off type of thinking, because the moment you get hitched, it becomes, as I said earlier, it becomes more work. I think about being in a relationship or being married is really a time for you and that person to team up and be better. And so it takes work to become better by yourself. So now imagine teaming up with somebody else for a lifetime commitment. This is your partner to become better.
Yeah. And what single people often don't realize, so you meet Susie Q, Jane Doe, and you like her and you marry her. She comes with a family. She comes with a family who's got history. You know, when I sit here and I work...
Traditions.
Oh, they've got all kinds of traditions and ways they do things. Maybe her family doesn't... maybe she learned from her family how to put the toilet paper on the roll.
Yes.
And so now, not only do you have issues with her, but you blame her mama for teaching her to do it wrong. When it's just different, right? Again, you think you're just going to get to know this one person, but honestly, they might have like 6 sisters who are, maybe you might have issues with too.
Cover what Ivan said. I don't know if can you see it on your screen?
Ivan, grass is not always greener. It depends on the upkeep, fertilization, cut the proper height, sunlight, water, soil, etc. I totally get the metaphor because I cut my own grass. And yeah, sometimes you look at your neighbor's yard and you're like, damn, what are they doing? But you know what? I got to stay in my yard. And that's something I tell single people all the time. Single people will say, yeah, I wish I could be like y'all. And, we take it as a compliment, and maybe sometimes we pat ourselves on the back. But I guarantee you they don't know that when we walk away, we look at each other and we say, they ain't got no idea. They got no kind of idea what it takes to be married.
It takes work. It takes check-ins. We just experienced it this past weekend.
Yeah. We had to get away for a weekend for a minute to kind of leave the kids behind, leave the family behind, to just kind of reconnect with each other. And that is valuable for us. That's something that most people don't think they need or don't prepare for.
Yeah.
But those love checks, those times away and times together are what keeps that relationship going good.
Yeah. And that's the gift, I think, of singleness. You have that time to build on who you are as a person. What do you like? What you don't like? Work is on your love language. What do you love? How do you want to be showered with love?
Yeah. When I see couples, not even couples, when I see single people, I say to them, I hear you want to be in a relationship, but when was the last time you actually went out by yourself? When was the last time you took yourself out? You treated yourself? And they look at me and they're like, yo, Jay, that's crazy talk. I'm like, how's it crazy? They say, who goes to movies by themselves? I'm like, I do. Who goes to dinner or lunch by themselves? I do. Not that I don't like to go out with my wife, but I know myself well enough, because as crazy as it sounds, I've almost like dated myself. I've spent time with myself figuring out what I like, what I don't like, so that when I do find someone who's interested in me, I won't lose myself in this person. The sense of who I am doesn't just kind of get washed away. The one other thing, one last thing I'll add is that a lot of single people, this goes back to our topic tonight, when they talk about the bed feeling big and this feeling not just alone, being alone, but lonely, right? Loneliness is hard. I get it. When the holidays come, that loneliness is extra heavy. As a matter of fact, that loneliness can actually lead to depression sometimes. When Thanksgiving rolls around and maybe you're by yourself, you don't have anybody, you see a couples who are trick-or-treating and matching costumes at the parties, Christmases, and then there's New Year's, everyone's kissing, and then right after New Year's, Valentine's Day, and that is peak season for depression and loneliness right then and there, from the holiday season up to right around Valentine's. So people will get into these relationships because they feel lonely and they don't want to be lonely. And to those people, I said, that is the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
That is absolutely the worst thing you can do, is to get in a relationship to avoid feeling lonely. You know what you should do? Get a puppy.
I can't.
No, really. Like legit. Get a puppy. Or a goldfish. Or a hobby. Because there is nothing worse than being in a relationship but still being lonely.
I guess I can understand that now and kind of processing it. Because if you go into a relationship where you are wanting to be connected to someone, you're going to accept a lot more toxic things that they bring to that relationship, because of the single fact it is more valuable to you to have someone connected next to you versus you tripping and you got to go.
Right.
Because the goal is having someone next to you.
Right. That's what you care about. And when people say, well, why do men and women stay in these abusive relationships? Well, oftentimes it's because they're lonely.
Puppies cost money.
Puppies cost money, yes they do, but they are cheaper. They cost
than a sour relationship.
They cost less than toxic relationships. And you can always find a home for the puppy when you get tired of the puppy. Hopefully you don't, but it's harder to get rid of a bad mate, a bad wife, bad girlfriend than a puppy.
Oh, Ivan has a good point. Puppies are loyal.
Yeah.
True love.
Yeah. Not sure what he's trying to imply there, but I must concur. My dog's been loyal to me for 12 years now. Believe it or not, that's longer than we've been married, babe.
Yes, we've been married for 10.
All right. Yeah, I've been with my dog longer than I've been married to my wife. You can look into that however you want to. But the idea that you are going to cure your loneliness by being in a relationship, you got to think twice, because there is no deeper loneliness than laying next to somebody, your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, sitting on the couch watching a movie, looking at a show, and feeling like you all by yourself.
It's true. And I do agree with that. I would rather be by myself before I put myself back in a toxic relationship. But it took the experience of you being in a toxic relationship.
Oftentimes, that's how we learn.
Yeah, but you also, I would say, you have to go back and see why you went into that. Was it in that season we just talked about?
What was the motivating factor?
Yeah.
Maybe you had some other things going on, and then you thought that being next to somebody, having somebody to rub your back, would cure it. I get it. We get it. It happens. But making a mistake, that's one thing. The idea is these kind of mistakes we try to not repeat.
And I think when we think of mistakes, we think, oh my God, I'm doomed. No, you're not. You take it and you go, you weed out the pros and the cons of that relationship. And you go, you know what? I've learned I am going to be a better person. I have better relationship ego eyes and kind of being that detective of who am I going to accept? What am I going to accept? And what I sure as hell would not tolerate.
Yeah. And, you're in a better position to figure all that out as a single person. Because, again, when you have other people's feelings to think about, when you're single, if you want to have sushi, what do? You
go out.
You go get some damn sushi. If you want to have some soda, some rum and coke, or you want some banan peze, whatever, you legit get up and go. But if you're with somebody, you hungry and you say, well,
what do you feel like eating?
You said, babe, I'm gonna go get some food. Do you want anything? I don't know. Yes, no, maybe. No.
Or the line of, I'm not hungry. And when you come home with the food, they want some.
And now it's a fight because you only bought enough for one. And now you got to deal with that. Trust me. Being single, I understand, is not easy. Particularly if you have already accomplished like certain goals. Many people go to school, they start businesses, they have great jobs, and so they have the means to travel and they want to do things, but they're missing that partner. They're missing that someone to do those things with. I was telling someone today, talking about cruising. We love to cruise.
Yes.
We love vacations. And they were like, oh, I would like to go on a cruise. So I said, go ahead. What do you mean, by myself?
Yes.
I said, yeah. And again, who does that? Who goes on cruises by themselves? I said, why not? You don't need to be in a relationship in order to live, guys.
Yeah.
You really do not have to be attached to someone in order to have fun and to enjoy life. Does it add value? Yeah. Yes. Well, I'll tell you, in some cases, yes. But, there are both sides. There isn't anything that you can do in a relationship that you can't do by yourself. I mean, with few exceptions. But for the most part, you are complete, you are fine all by yourself.
And I think it makes the relationship better when you know who you are as an individual.
Absolutely.
Because you're not seeking the your spouse or the person that you're in this relationship with to fulfill you, because you already fulfilled going into the relationship. And then I'm going back into what Ivan was saying. Ivan is saying, don't waste your prime times on relationships that is going nowhere.
Yeah.
End them early. If there's anything that I would tell single people today, do not waste your time, your precious time on this earth, especially your prime season in your life, on relationships from day one. You will know it's no good.
Especially if you know. Last week we talked about reading the fine print. So if you read the fine print and you realize that this ain't where it's at, roll out. And if you're dating, then date. Again, you don't have to marry somebody the day you meet them. And I would hope you're not looking to marry somebody at the first encounter.
No, but it happens.
Yeah, but if it happens, great. But if dating is about getting to know people, being single is when you figure out who you are. What do you like? What do you not like? You know what I'm saying?
But oftentimes I think in singleness, dating is being perfect so you can be selected to be Mr. or Mrs. someone. And I think that's an error single people do.
That's the wrong idea.
It's not. Singleness should be your time to show who you really are.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's not about you trying to be who Johnny wants or who Mary wants you to be. Be who you are. And if they like what they see, then cool. Then y'all hook up and then y'all make it happen. All right.
Hey, Maggie, I see you laughing. Girl, you know it's true.
Guys, we're just about out of time, but I thank those of you who joined us. We have fun. We have fun every week we do this.
I want to thank Miss Joseph, who came back from last week. Maggie joined us. Vladimir just joined us. And Miss Pierre Lewis just joined us.
Thank you for your comments, Ivan. I know you're missing your wife. Right now, you single. But it won't last too long. What else? If you want to keep the conversation going, you can join us.
Does anybody have any questions before we go off?
I guess while you guys put your questions in, I'll just let you know where you can find us. That's over on Instagram, Dr. Jameson Mercier. You can also find us at Twitter, same thing. And here on Facebook, you can follow my wife, Herdine Mercier. She's also on Instagram.
And Facebook.
And Facebook. And Twitter. I mean, we're practically all over the place.
What's our topic next week? Miss Marie X.
Next week. So, honestly, there's a couple topics. And I would like to tell y'all what the topic is, but I'd rather you subscribe and follow and stay connected so that you can get the updates.
I'll give you a clue. Relationships.
Oh, yeah. Yes, but we do want you to engage with us. If you have any ideas or topics or things that are near and dear to you that you want to hear, please share it. Hit us up on the DM, send us an email live at mercierwellness.com. Like we said, Instagram, Facebook. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, feel free to do that. These videos will be posted in our YouTube channel.
Don't forget to share.
As always, if you find any value in what we do here, if you know anybody who benefit from the information that we share here, please let them know. All right?
Any questions before we head off?
We're here every week at 8:30. So far, the time slot's working. What you think, babe?
Yeah, time slot's working.
Time slot's working. We're on long enough for the late arrivals to catch it. And
Marshall asks, can this be rewatched?
So, Mr. Pierre Lewis, yes, you can rewatch this, but you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel where we upload these after we do them here. And they archive everything. So head on over to youtube.com and just look for Mercier Wellness and Consulting. There's a nice picture of me and my wife right there. And so, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Who's that? Coles. Colored people time. Yeah, we don't roll on no colored people time. You got to get here quick. You got to get here early. And so,
thanks, brother.
Appreciate you trying to make it. All right. But like I just told Marshall, you can catch it on our YouTube channel. Share it, subscribe, tell your friends. And
remember, our objective of these topics is truly building relationships. We do need relationships, but oftentimes we sacrifice relationships for toxic relationships instead of healthy, balanced relationships.
That's all we're trying to do. Trying to make the world a better place, guys.
Try to make the world a better place, one relationship at a time.
We appreciate you. We appreciate the support. And we will be here next week. Same time, same place again. Share, like, subscribe, connect. Put the link on your page and we will catch you.
And then you're done.
And so we've been talking about being single, right? Being single is not a curse. Ain't nothing wrong with you if you're single.
Don't believe the false myths.
No, you are somebody whether you're married or not.
Yes.
And being single will not keep you from feeling lonely. And no matter how big your bed is, just enjoy it. All right. Sometimes a big bed by yourself is better than a bed with somebody else.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Again, this is Dr. Jameson Mercier, licensed clinical social worker, doctor of family therapy, and Herdine Mercier. Thank you all. Have a good night. Catch you on the next one.